Well, Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. It is truly a joy to welcome you into the sanctuary on this Yom Kippur of 5779. How grateful we all are to be able to worship together as a community, ever cognizant that still there are Jewish communities around the world that are not afforded the same blessings that we are. There are some whose synagogues have been totally destroyed by Hurricane Florence. There are others in parts of the world, in Hong Kong and in China, that are still reeling from the monsoon mangut that hit this past week. And we know that throughout the world, rampant anti-Semitism continues to hurt those who only want to do exactly what we're doing today, to come and freely pray and be together as community. So let us take a moment just to appreciate our good fortune and look around, see those that are familiar and unfamiliar. Wish them, please, a Shana Tova. We turn now in our Machzorim to page 292.
Shachar avakeshcha tzuril miskabi eruch lifanecha shachri v'gam arbi lifnei gedulatecha imod v'imahil ki enechot yirekol machivot libil mazeh sheyuchol halevi halashon la'asot u'makuach ruchi b'toch kirbi hinei lichatita zimrot enush alekinu dicha mi'otiya nishmat elabeh.
On the top of page 294, let us read together. This is the day of our atonement. We would return to you as penitent children, long to return to a loving parent. We confess our sins on this day, knowing that the gates of repentance are always open. Receive us with compassion and bless us with your forgiving love. We turn to page 303. At the bottom of the page, we rise together for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadol, Yitkadosh, Meirava, V'alma divrach Yirutei, V'yamlich malchutei, V'chaychon uv'yamechon, uv'chayid chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalau v'zman karim, v'imera, Amen. Yehishmeru b'mevorach, le'olam u'lolmei almayah, Yirarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalal shemid kodesha berecho le'ela min kobrata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'yimera.
Page 304, the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu, et Adonai, Amirach. Baruch Adonai, Amirach. Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai, Amirach. Le'olam va'ed.
We continue now on page 306 with Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchata, Le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated as we continue chanting together.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
In this world waiting to be redeemed, our hearts cry out, cannot our dearest hopes at last come true? Many are our defeats, yet how many our deliverances? After servitude to Pharaoh, we chose service to God. After exile in Babylon, we rebuild God's shrine. Yesterday's wounds, so nearly fatal, begin to heal, and Israel, living still, plants new seeds of redemption.
Let the time come when all the peoples will be joined in bonds that cannot break. The nations will yet be at peace. The earth will yield good fruit. Mountains and waters will.
Those who sowed in tears will reap in joy, and all will sing with one accord.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha in nidor ba'kodesh, nurat elot u'sifrena. Shira chadasha, shivachu ge'ulim l'shimcha sfatayam, yachad kulam, hodu v'himlich v'ameru, hodu zu Israel, komm ab Israel, Israel, uf dich und mecha Yehuda Israel, go'alin Adonai tzvaot shemo, kiddush Israel, baruch atah Adonai, ga'al Israel.
At the bottom of page 308, we continue with tefillah, and I'd ask you to rise, please.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohi Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak v'Elohi Yaakov Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka Elohi Leah v'Elohi Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon G'mechassadim Tovim V'konei ha'kol v'zocher chasdei avot v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahut u'miving geula livnei v'nehem למען שמו באהבה זוכרינו לי חיים מלך חפץ בחיים וחותמנו בספר החיים למען חלויים חיים מלך עוזר משה ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים רופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מחמוך בגבורות ברחמים, זוכי צורה לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכול, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכול. Amen.
You may be seated. As we now prepare to recite the haunting words of the Untitled, we are reminded of the ultimate choices put before us on this day, and one that is retold from history's point of view, that of Rabbi Amnon of Mainz. He was a rabbi who was given a choice to embrace the gift of life as long as he also embraced a different faith, or die. Our choices are not so great, thank God. But indeed, we are reminded on this Yom Kippur day that each of us has the ability to make a choice in embracing the ultimate gifts of life, the days, the weeks, the months, and years granted, or to waste and pass our time in a way that is not worthy. All our choices. And so we look at the Unatitled to guide us and to remind us of the ultimate choice, life over death.
ונתענית עוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום, ובוא תינשא מלכותך, ויקום בחסד כיסאך, ותשיב עליו באמת.
Let us proclaim the sacred power of this day. It is awesome and full of dread. For on this day your dominion is exalted, your throne established in steadfast love. There in truth you reign, in truth you are, judge and arbiter, counsel and witness. You write and you seal, you record and recount. You remember deeds long forgotten, you open the book of our days, and what is written there proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being.
וכיל אור אדם יוחזון, ויאמרו הנה יום העדן לפקוד עצמם בדין, כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין, וכל העולם יעברון לפניך כבני מרון, כבולקות רועדרו באוויר צונו, תחת שבטו כן תאביב ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי, ותחתוך יצמלכו בריאה, ותכתוב את גזר דינם.
The great shofar is sounded. The still small voice is heard. The angels, gripped by fear and trembling, declare in awe, "This is the day of judgment, for even the hosts of heaven are judged, as all who dwell on earth stand arrayed before you." As the shepherd seeks out the flock and makes the sheep pass under the staff, so do you muster and number and consider every soul, setting the bounds of every creature's life and decreeing its destiny.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. כמוי עבורון, וכמוי יבראון.
Rosh Hashanah, it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many shall pass on, and how many shall come to be? Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire and who by water?
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. מי בחרב ומי בחיה,
Who by sword and who by
מי
beast?
ברעב ומי בצר,
Who by hunger and who by
מי
thirst?
ברעש ומי במגפה,
Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning?
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. מי ינוח ומי ינוח, מי
Who shall be secure and who shall be
ישקיט
driven?
ומי תורה,
Who shall be tranquil and who shall be troubled? Who shall be poor and who shall be rich? Who shall be humbled and who exalted?
מראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה מעבירים את רוע הגזירה.
But repentance, prayer, and charity temper judgment's severe decree. Page 315, we rise together for the Kedusha.
נקדיש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמרום, ככתוב ויהיה בביך, וכרזב ויאמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. איידיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך
To all generations, we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. You may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. Amen.
We continue on the bottom of page 318.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotinu, ya'alev yavo, v'yizacher zichronenu, v'zichron kol amcha bet Yisrael lefanecha, litova, l'ched, l'chesed, l'rachamim, l'chaim, l'shalom, b'yom HaKippurim Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo litova. Amen. Ufoktienu v'livracha. Amen. V'hoshienu l'chaim.
Together we read, "We give thanks for the mitzvot, which hallow our days, and pray for wisdom to guide our lives by Torah. May our redemptive labors make us glad, our struggle for purity not fail, and our striving for good bring us joy. Blessed is the vision of holiness that exalts the house of Israel and the day of atonement."
Retzi Adonai Eloheinu, B'amecha Yisrael utfilatam, v'yahava tikabel utilratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadecha b'ira navod.
On the bottom of page 320, let us rejoice in the light of day, in the glory and warmth of the sun, in the reawakening of life to duty and labor.
We rejoice in the light of day.
In the earth with its hills and valleys, its widespread fields of grain, its fruit and hidden treasures.
We rejoice in the beauty of earth.
In the love of fathers and mothers who have nurtured our lives, with whose blessing we have gone forth to our own work in the world.
We rejoice in the love of parents.
In the children who bless our homes, whose eager minds and hearts are the promise of tomorrow.
We rejoice in our children.
In friends who share our sorrows and joys, in the fullness of the abundant life, in the serenity of old age, and in the peace that comes at last.
We rejoice and shall rejoice forevermore. We continue with Sim Shalom on the top of page 322. Please join me.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה ורחמים, וחיים ושלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, בסעיף חיים ברכה ושלום, ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניגעים לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Always within our service, we pause for a few moments of our private and silent meditation as we continue that conversation we have started with one who is greater than us. But often we look at places for inspiration. Sometimes it comes from history, which today marks the 45th anniversary since the start of the Yom Kippur War. Certainly, it was a time of grave danger, as throughout Israel, families were gathered at home and in their synagogues, and instead of being called to prayer, were called to fight a war. We are inspired by all those who gave of their lives, their time, and their energies in defense of our nation. But there are many ways in which to serve. We serve our families, our communities, we serve our people and the world in which we live. And inspiration there comes not only from our teachings and traditions, but more importantly from the actions of other people. Today we have already opened up the book of our Machzor, and of course we are told that today is the continuing opening of our book of life. But here at Temple Har Shalom, we have another book that we open. It is known as the Sefer Avodah, the Book of Service. And to share with you just a few thoughts of that book, and to give us some inspiration for our own silent thoughts and prayers, it's a pleasure to welcome forward John Wishnia.
For those who don't recall, under Stephanie and Karen, we'd begun the Book of Service and started an annual tradition now of inscribing names of those who've given back to Temple Har Shalom. The description is relatively simple and straightforward. Using our gifts to be of service is the fullest expression of our lives. Each day we find a multitude of ways to be useful. Whatever we may achieve, the quality of our own life comes from the quality of our contribution. First and foremost, we served our loved ones. We notice what others need, discover their wishes, and respond helpfully. We don't wait to be asked. A spirit of service invests whatever we do with excellence. We give our very best effort. People who want to be of service can change the world. And so this year, into Temple Ar Shalom's Book of Service, we inscribe those past presidents who continue to be members of our congregation and continue to provide service long after their time in some cases. And so I'll read them out now. Ed Adler, Risa Drayson, Karen Ehrenberg, Jerry Flansbaum, Lou Friedman, Stephanie Green, Murray Howard, Michael Pressman, Mark Ruderman, and Jessica Wang. Thank you all. Shana Tova.
We pause for just a few moments.
We continue on page 324 As we prepare for our vidui, our confessions, we rise, please. For transgressions against God, the Day of Atonement atones. But for transgressions of one human being against the other, the Day of Atonement does not atone until they have made peace with one another.
I
I hereby forgive all who have hurt me, all who have wronged me, whether deliberately or inadvertently, whether by word or by deed. May no one be punished on my account. As I forgive and pardon those who have wronged me, may those whom I have harmed forgive and pardon me, whether I acted deliberately or inadvertently, whether by word or by deed.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotinu, tovu lefanecha tfilatenu, v'yul titolam mit Filatenu, she'ein anachu, azefanim ukashim oref, lomar lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotinu, tzadikim anachnu v'lo chataynu, aval anachnu chaytaynu, chaytaynu, harinu, pashanu.
Our God and God of our mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, our God and God of all ages, that we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess, we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed. It is traditional now to remain standing through our silent confession, and then as we continue with our communal and public confessions. We pause for a moment between pages 325 and 326 to either contemplate the words written on the page or in your own heart.
We continue with a Shamnu, page 327.
Who among us is righteous enough to say, I have not sinned? We are arrogant, brutal, careless, destructive, egocentric, false, greedy, heartless, insolent, and joyless. Our sins are an alphabet of woe. Now may we be your will, O God of all generations, to pardon all our sins, to forgive all our wrongdoings, and to blot out our transgressions. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves.
For failures or truth, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For passing judgment without knowledge of the facts.
And for distorting facts to fit our theories.
For deceiving ourselves and others with half-truths.
And for pretending to emotions we do not feel.
For using the sins of others to excuse our own.
And for denying responsibility for our own misfortunes.
For condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
And for condemning in our parents the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
We sin against you when we sin against ourselves.
For failures of justice, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For keeping the poor in the chains of poverty.
And turning a deaf ear to the cry of the oppressed.
For using violence to maintain our power.
And for using violence to bring about change.
For waging aggressive war.
And for the sin of appeasing aggressors.
For obeying criminal orders.
And for the sin of silence and indifference.
For poisoning the air and polluting land and sea.
And for all the evil means we employ to accomplish good ends.
We sin against you and we sin against ourselves.
For our failures of love, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For confusing love with lust.
And for pursuing fleeting pleasure at the cost of lasting hurt.
For using others as a means to gratify our desires.
And as stepping stones to further our ambitions.
For withholding love to control those we claim to love.
And shunting aside those whose youth or age deserves us.
For hiding from others behind our armor on mistrust.
And for the cynicism which leads us to mistrust the reality of unselfish love.
Teach us to forgive ourselves for all these sins, O forgiving God, and help us to overcome them.
Ve'al kulam ildo haslichot selach landu ve'chalandu
Page 330. The sin we have committed against you by malicious gossip. The The sin we have committed against you by sexual immorality.
והלכית שחטאנו לפניך במאכל ובמשתה.
And the sin we have committed against you by gluttony.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין.
The sin we have committed against you by narrow-mindedness.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובכזב.
The sin we have committed against you by fraud and falsehood.
והלכית שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם.
And the sin we have committed against you by hating without cause.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בנטיית גרון.
The sin we have committed against you by our arrogance.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בעזות בצר.
The sin we have committed against you by our insolence.
והלכית שחטאנו לפניך בקלות ראש.
The sin we have committed against you by our irreverence.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה.
The sin we have committed against you by our hypocrisy.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות.
The sin we have committed against you by passing judgment on others.
והלכית שחטאנו לפניך בנשך ובמרבית.
And the sin we have committed against you by exploiting the weak.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך בכפת שוחד.
The sin we have committed against you by giving and taking bribes.
הלכית שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע.
And the sin we have committed against you by giving way to our hostile influence.
והלכית שחטאנו לפניך בריצת רגליים להרע.
And the sin we have committed against you by running to do evil.
ועל כולם הילו הסליחות, סלח לנו בחלנו, כפר לנו.
We turn to page 336 and continue with Shema Kolenu.
Shema, Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus virachim aleinu, v'kabel virachamim u'viratzon, et tefilatenu. Hashivenu Adonai, elecha v'nashuva, Chadish Yameinu, Chadish Yameinu, Chadish Yameinu, Yameinu ki kedem, Chadish Yameinu, Chadish Yameinu, Chadish Yameinu ki kedem.
Our God and God of all generations, may the sense of your presence never leave us. May we keep us forever faithful to your covenant. Make us responsive to your teaching, that we may walk in your ways. Fill our souls with awe and our hearts with love, that we may return to you in truth and all our being. You may be seated.
Ki anu vamecha ve'ata malkinu, anu vanecha ve'ata avinu, anu nachatecha ve'ata goralinu, anu zonecha ve'ata ruinu, anu karmecha ve'ata
Shana Tova again. This is the part of our service annually where we have our Kol Nidre appeal. This year's appeal will be given by Jill Friedland. Jill's been a long-standing member of our community, at least 13 years. She wouldn't tell me exactly how long. And she's been involved in a variety of different activities, including Atid. And so, Jill, we welcome you to the stage. It is always an honor to be up on the stage, on the bima, but it's an honor, more importantly, to have you up with us today. Thank you.
Hi. So thank you, John, and thank you, Rabbi, for inviting me to speak today. Again, my name is Jill Friedland. Some of you, I think, know me, but I'm pretty sure that more of you may know my son, Adam Friedland. Adam and I sat in the front row of these services every year for about 10 years. That was my seat, and that was Adam's. And one year, he sat right next to me in the aisle right over there in his wheelchair. Several of you were kind enough to approach me over those years to tell me that Adam had such a big smile that you could see his smiling cheeks, even though your seats were behind him. And 3 years ago, and I hope this person will know who they are and will remember saying this, someone told me that seeing Adam enjoy services with me, as he did, made their whole holiday. And I can't tell you what those kind words meant to me then and how much they still mean to me now. Adam loved coming here. He loved the community feeling, and he loved the music. In fact, he would clap along to the music of the prayers like he was at a concert, and that always made Cantor Berman smile. She could see him. Sadly, Adam died unexpectedly in his sleep a little over 2 years ago. It was May 23rd, 2016. Adam was only 13 years old, and it was only 5 months before he was to be bar mitzvahed, which was something he had worked so hard on for so many years. Adam was the love of my life, and I have to say that on that day, the absolutely worst day of my life, I was so grateful to have this temple, our rabbi, and our cantor. Rabbi Masnitsky spent hours on the floor with me in Adam's room that morning. She prayed with me. She arranged for and walked me through every horrible step that my husband and I had to do that day and in the coming days ahead. And this sanctuary, right here at the bottom of these steps, is the last place that I ever got to see and to kiss Adam. Now, thank goodness, I know, a very extreme example of somebody who needs this temple. And I sincerely hope that you never need it in the same way that I, my husband Ken, or my daughter Lucy have. But this experience has made me spend a lot of time over the last 2 years thinking deeply about why belonging to this temple is important to me. And moreover, why is it important to me to make sure that a Jewish community is here and remains here in Warren? And I hope that my experiences and what I've discovered from it is something that can be helpful to us all. So before Adam died, I think I thought about the value of belonging to Temple Har Shalom in much of the same way as some of you may also think about it. My thoughts about the value of our family belonging to the temple would especially come up when it was time to send in our checks and join for the coming year. And quite honestly, the year after my daughter Lucy was bat mitzvahed, deciding whether to belong again or not was definitely a serious consideration. I think this sentiment might also sound familiar to some of you and might be similar to some things that have gone on in your own households. So here's kind of how my thought process would usually go. I would think, honestly, I don't come to temple very often. I would probably characterize myself as a twice-a-year Jew, coming only on the high holidays, maybe a twice-a-year Jew plus. I might have come 3 or 4 times total. But is that worth the money to belong? However, this year, when I received my bill, I was surprised to see it presented in a way that resonated with me, because this year it was presented in a way that was much more similar to how I have thought about belonging to the temple over the last 2 years. This year, we did not get a bill to join the temple. We got a request to invest in the temple, a request to make a donation to invest in this temple community. So, is this temple a place that you, want to invest in? For me, it is an easy yes, because I have seen firsthand the importance and the benefit of this synagogue, this rabbi and cantor, this wonderful community of supportive people. Since Adam died, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to put into words that articulate what makes this temple important to me. Why did I and do I choose to belong year after year? And again, frankly, is that worth the money? And here's what I realized. I equate being a member of the temple to having an insurance policy. You hope you never need car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance. You certainly do not look forward to paying your premiums every year when the bill comes. But when you need it, you are really glad that someone answers the 800 number and sends you a check for your damages. So I think we can agree that nobody has insurance thinking that they are ever going to need it. It's insurance. And I really feel like belonging to this temple is a very good and necessary insurance policy, and more than worth the premiums. I'm so glad that our rabbi and cantor are here when I have needed them, but moreover, they're here when you need them. And way better than a typical insurance policy that you only use when things go wrong, this insurance policy is here when things go very, very right in your lives as well. When anything good happens, like when a baby is born in your family, or when one of your children is married, or when one of your children becomes a bat mitzvah, or gets confirmed, or when you just want to come to clear your mind and sit for an hour on a Friday night, surrounded by the comforting, familiar, and peaceful sounds of the service. And I think that leads me to the other important point that I came to realize. It doesn't really matter to me if I or you ever physically come to the temple, because even if I don't want to come to services on Friday nights, I do want the building to be open for the one time that I or you might want to come. Even if I don't participate in the community activities, I do want them to happen in case I do want to go to them. And most importantly, when I needed Rabbi Masnitsky to get me through these 2 horrible years, she was there, some days just truly encouraging me to get out of bed in the morning. And more importantly, she's there for all of you too. It is important to have Temple Har Shalom here as a backdrop for the difficult parts of our lives, like when Adam died or when, unfortunately, a parent or a member of your own family dies. But better, it's important to have it here for the truly happy, celebratory times in our lives that we are all very grateful to have to celebrate. Whether we use it enough or not, is it an investment worth making? So this building is here and well cared for and thriving whenever we want to use it. I've learned from my experience that this is an investment worth making, and I hope as you spend time reflecting today, you'll think about why you're sitting here. We all have different needs that are being met by belonging to Temple Har Shalom. You may not even be able to put the why into words right now, but deep in your hearts, you are here today because you know it's important to be part of a strong Jewish community, and these services offer you something that you truly value. So please take a moment to try to define for yourselves exactly why you come here each year at this time of year. And my hope is that by bringing the awareness of why it's important to you, will lead you to think about making a little bigger investment than you already have done by generously donating to the Kol Nidre appeal this year, to assure that Temple Har Shalom is here in this year, in all the future years, and for all the future years to come, when you need it, or better, when you just want it. So thank you for listening. And I wish everyone a healthy new year, because as I've realized, health is the only important thing, and Shana Tova.
So one slight change we're going to have for the Kol Nidre appeal this year, just after talking with Jill, is we want to hand out envelopes now. We're not going to have stamped envelopes with individual names, but we do have ushers that have been kind enough to hand them out. For those that do want to do so, there are pencils in there, so you're free to fill them out now and they'll be collected today. Obviously, for those that don't want to write on Yom Kippur, please do not feel as though you need to do so. Thank you.
We are taught that words that come from the heart truly enter the heart. And I know we can all agree that the words that Jill shared with us today have entered our hearts and spirits, as has the memory of Adam, who is always an inspiration because he was truly the happiest person I ever met.
He loves Sim Shalom. He would get back.
And it is wonderful to be reminded of those that have lived and have given so much in just a few short years. Well, it is time for us now to prepare to read from the Torah. And so I ask you to turn to page 338. To open the Ark doors, it's our honor to welcome forward Bruce and Melissa Ruck, together with Paul and Francine Gold. and those who will be carrying the Torahs, Bruce Friedman, Howard Astron, and Eric Harvitt. Would you rise, please?
Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notze Chesed la'alafim, Nose Avun v'Fesha, V'Chata'av v'Nakem.
We are on page 339 for the Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned against you.
Avinu Malkeinu chachazirenu b'teshuvah shlema lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring us back to you in full repentance.
Avinu Malkeinu salach u'machal l'chol avonotenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, forgive and pardon all our misdeeds.
Avinu Malkeinu chamol aleinu va'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our children.
Avinu Malkeinu kalei dever v'herev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to sickness, war, and famine.
Avinu Malkeinu kodvenu b'sefer chaim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for blessing in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the new year be a good year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu asa imanu lama'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, help us to exalt your name in the world.
Avinu Malkeinu kabel berachamim uveratzon et tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, in your mercy accept our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, chaninu v'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chaninu v'aleinu, ki in banu asim manu, tzedaka v'chesed, asim manu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'husheinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chaninu v'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chaninu v'aleinu, ki imanu asim. Ki mitzion titzei Torah, ki mitzion titzei Torah, udivar Adonai Yerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amu Yisrael v'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai
may all be seated. Oh, no. We love the sounds of active children, so it never bothers us, please. It's always wonderful to hear them. So if they'd like to come back in, please have them do so. Well, it is time for us to read the first of two very special Torah portions on this day of Yom Kippur. First, during our morning service, early afternoon service, we read from the end of the Torah, the book of Deuteronomy. It is known as Atem Nitzavim. And if you can picture what is happening, Moses is standing with the Israelites, nearly 1 million strong, and they're looking at the promised land. And Moses is realizing for the very last time that he can look at the land, but he will never have the honor of actually going to the land. And so he needs to give some direction to the Israelites. He needs to help them best understand, without their parent, all the things they need to remember. And so the book of Deuteronomy is called such in Latin because it means the second telling. Moses retells again all the instructions that he does not want the Israelites to forget. And in this morning's portion, this is chosen specifically because what he talks about is Atem Nitzavim, the need to remain in community. You may notice that you do not commemorate Yom Kippur at home. This is not a holiday to be spent in the confines of your home or in the quiets of the woods or in a place in which you find is peaceful. No, instead you're supposed to be amongst community. It reminds us that we do not live alone, and therefore we do not act alone. Every one of our actions affects another. And so, as Moses speaks to the Israelites, it's as if Moses is speaking to us to this very day. Atem Nitzavim, you who are standing here, and all your offspring, and their offspring, and through the generations. Our challenge this year, as it is every year, is as we hear those words, have we secured the next generation to stand next to us and listen to these sacred calling? You can follow along on page 342, Atem Nitzavim.
For the honor of chanting the first Aliyah, it's a pleasure to call back, because he did this during the first service, Dave Scharf.
And for those who will bless the Torah, we are honored to call forward Adam and Erica Grossberg, together with Josh Greenbaum. Got it.
Baruch et Adonai Hamorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'nata Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem, Rashechem shiftechem, Ziknechem v'shotrechem, Kol ish Yisrael, Tapchem nishechem v'gercha asher bekerev machanecha mechotev etzecha ad shoev meimecha le'avrecha b'ivrit Adonai Elohecha uvalato asher Adonai Elohecha koret imcha hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you so much. For our second aliyot to the Torah, we welcome forward Debbie and Keith Krakauer together with David, Sherry, and Alyssa Rudnitsky.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Ha'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'cha b'nu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. למען הקימותך היום לו לעם. והוא יהיה לך לאלוהים כאשר דיבר לך, וכאשר נשבע אבותיך לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב, ולא איתכם לבדכם אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת, כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו במת היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו, ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach, everyone. And for our third aliyot, we welcome forward Dana, Michael, and Brian Silver.
For the honor of chanting the third aliyah, it's my pleasure to call forth Jessica Carrieri.
Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavha hayom lo nifleti mimha velo rehuka hi lo vashamayim hi lemor mi ya'ale lanu hashamayma v'ikechach lanu v'yashminu ota v'na'asena velo me'ever layam hi lemor mi ya'avar lanu el ever hayom v'ikechach lanu v'yashminu ota v'na'asena.
Beautiful. Just like yesterday. Sing it.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. For our fourth Aliyot, we welcome forward Jay and Jill Pila, together with Audrey and Gary Taffet.
This is the last time for a while that Jess will read Torah. She's going to graduate high school and go to college, and then she's not necessarily going to be home for the holidays. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach, Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vaed, Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vaed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
אמן. ראי נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לעבור. אל אדוני אלוהיך ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר טבע שם על רשתה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach, everyone. For our fifth Aliyah, we welcome forward Jordan and Marcia Heller.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
אמן. ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע ונידחת והשתחווית אלוהים אחרים ואתם הגדתי לכם היום כי אבות אבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שם על רשתה, הגדתי בכם היום את השמיים ואת הארץ את החיים ואת המוות נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה בזרעך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Always while the Torah is in our midst, before our last Aliyah, we think of those who may be in need of healing. So if there's someone's name that you would like to share, please feel free to do so. For those known to us and unknown to us, we say, Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed is God from where the source of healing flows. And if healing cannot be their ultimate gift, we pray that they will be given the ability to face their challenges. For our sixth and final Aliyah, it's an honor to be able to tell our congregation that we have 16 new member families. I believe that most were present at the first service, but I'd love you to hear their names. If any are here with us now, we will call them forward for a special blessing and the honor of their first Aliyah here at Temple Har Shalom. So this year, We are welcoming Michael and Kimberly Beckerman, Louis and Ann Beckerman, Larry and Susan Church, Chad and Sandy Goldstein, Jason and Stephanie Kirschheimer, Michael and Stephanie Lindy, Jamie and Craig Margolis, Rob and Stacy Merkin, Nancy and Stuart Margolis, Lindsay and David Shaw, Josh and Allie Sobin, Todd and Rachel Schneiderman, Richard and Rachel Schwartz, and Irv Seisner. So if you are here, please make your way to the Bema. We anxiously await your arrival. But what a joy to have so many new families in our midst.
Welcome.
Welcome, we're so honored.
It's okay, it's right here. Nice and big. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach. Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher baruch mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Ha'idoti v'achem hayom. Hashemayim v'yeta'aretz ha'chayim v'hamavet natati lefanecha. Habracha v'haklala uvacharta b'chayim למען תחיה תבזרך לאהבו את אדוני אלוהיך לשמור בקולו לדבקו כי הוא חייך ויורך ימיך לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק ויעקב לתת להם
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. And this is truly a Shehechianu moment. We hope that there will be many more occasions that will bring you back to the Bema as we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu la'azman hazeh. Amen. And welcome. Such a joy. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Guys, know that. That wasn't Yom Kippur. But come back next time. It is now time for us to lift and dress the Torah, and we welcome back Bruce and Jody Friedman, and I'd ask you all to rise, please.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל אבי אדוני ביד משה יי די 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 די
Please be seated. Many years ago, one of the members of our choir, Marian Ham, came to me and asked if she could chant the Haftorah on Yom Kippur. For at least 10 years, we were blessed with Marian's voice. She was very active in my choir, active in the sisterhood, active on the board, active in every facet of the congregation. She chanted that Haftorah until she was too ill to continue chanting it. She lost her battle about 2 years ago, and I'm going to get all verklempt. It's my honor and our privilege to hear her daughter, Diana, to carry on in her tradition with chanting the Haftarah this morning.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Chabocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nviei ha'emet b'tzedek. Kira v'garon al takso kashofar charem kolecha v'hageh la'amihi pisham u'veit Yaakov hatotam v'yoti yom yom yidrashon v'da'at derechai yachpatzon kegoy asher tzedakah hasa Umishpat Elohav lo azav Yishaluni mispachseit tzedek kirvat Elohim yachpatzun Lama tzamnu v'lo rayita Yininu nafshenu v'lo teda Hein b'yom somchem timsu chayfetz V'kol atzveichem tingosu Hein levrayihi v'matzah tatsumu U'hakot be'egrof reisha Lo tatsumu chayom Lahashmiya b'marohom kolchem chakazeh Yeh tzom efkarechu yom Anot adam nafsho Halachov ki yagmon rosho V'sahak v'efer yatzia halazeh tikret sohom v'yom ratzon l'Adonai halo zeh tzom efkarechu pateya chartzubot resha chater agudot motah v'shlalach ritzusim choshim v'kol motah tenateku Halo faros l'raihi v'lachmecha v'nayihi miradim tavi v'hayit ki tireh arom v'chisito u'mipsarcha lo titalam Az yipaka kashachar orecha v'aruchatcha mechera titzmach v'halach lefanecha tzidkecha kevod Adonai yasvecha Az tigraha v'Adonai ye'aneh teshava v'yomar hineni im tasihir mitochecha hamotaha shelach etzbaha v'daber aven V'tafehek l'ra'ihiv nafshecha v'nefesh na'ana tasbihiya v'zarach b'choshech orecha v'afelatcha ha'katzohorayim v'nachacha Adonai tamihid v'chispiyach v'tzasachot nafshecha v'yasmotecha yichalit v'chayita kegan raveh v'chmotzah hamayim asher lo yichazvu meimahav uvanuhu mimcha charvot olam mosteh dor vador tigomeim v'korah lecha goder peret Mishuvi nitivo la shavet im tasi mishabahad raglecha asot chavetzecha bayom kashihi vekarat ala shabahat oneg ligdosh Adonai mechubahad vekibatoh maasoh derachecha mimso chefsecha v'daber davar. Ahas, titana galadonai, vekir kavticha albumate aharet, vaha achalticha nachalahat, Yaakov avicha ki fi Adonai diber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sor kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber chayehim, shekol devarav emevat tzedek, al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al hanavim, v'al yom ha'kipurim hazeh, shenatata lahanu Adonai Eloheinu, limchila v'lislicha l'chapara lechavod ultifaret, al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lahach, u'mvarchim otah, ki tverashimcha b'fikol chai, tamid le'olam va'ed, u'barcha emet v'kayam la'ahad, baruch atah Adonai, melech mochel v'solech la'avonotenu, v'la'avonot amo beit Yisrael, u'ma'avir ashmatenu v'kol shana v'shanaha, melech al kol ha'aretz, mekadosh Yisrael, v'yom ha'kippurim.
There is truly a reason the sun is shining. While Diana was chanting, certainly Marion's spirit not only shines down on us, but truly shines right through her daughter. L'dor v'dor, how grateful we are. It is now time for us to return the Torah to the Ark. And to open the Ark doors, we are honored to call forward Stephen and Danny Tamaris, together with Jeffrey and Eugenie Ostroff, and I'd ask you all to rise, please.
It's Chaim hi, Abba Chazikimo, Vitum Cheam, Miusha, Dilahiro, Torhino, Ichoniti Hotel, Shalom, Hashivenu, Adonai, Elecha Enoshu, Chodesh, Chodesh Yameinu, Chodesh Yameinu, Ki Kedem.
You may all be seated. So in the days leading up to these Yamim Noraim, these 10 days of repentance, people will often inquire of me, where do you get your material? Is there a website for rabbis to share topics? Is there a service from which to purchase completed sermons? Can you trade off? How often do you recycle? Well, the questions are as numerous as the potential topics. And as this is Yom Kippur, I am compelled to tell the truth. The answers to all of the above are yes. There are more than enough avenues to collect, gather, trade, and even buy sermons. But for me, it is daily life that provides the hot topics and the emotional inspiration which compel my writing. A subject has to first pierce my heart and raise my consciousness so that I may attempt to touch others. So I am always motivated to share with you that which concerns, disturbs, shakes, and deeply affects my own spirit. This High Holy Day season concludes my 35th year in the rabbinate and my 10th year as your spiritual leader. In reflecting on these milestones and my many, many years of sermonizing, I have come to realize that there is one subject above all others that is rarely ever confronted in an open and honest manner. But it does have the capacity to transform the living of every life. The issue is death. As someone who spends so much time around death and grieving, I am both perplexed and tremendously pained by the lack of knowledge and preparedness exhibited by those I serve. I am in a quandary as to how it is that we know what to do when a new life enters this world, but we are baffled and confused when someone is going to die or has died. How is it that we all know how to prepare for the significant life transitions, investing time and money, recognizing birth, b'nai mitzvah, graduations, and weddings, and yet we actively avoid and fail to prepare for dying? And how is it that we expose our children to such gratuitous and gruesome deaths portrayed in video games, television, social media, and film, but we are totally uncomfortable teaching them about death in age-appropriate ways from the time they are very young? By trying to ignore reality and keeping death discussions in the shadows, I believe that we actually give death more power than it deserves. When we bring death into the open, it can take its place as a natural part of the life cycle. So it is my intention today to help us all start what are almost difficult and nearly impossible conversations that I hope will ultimately lessen our anxieties and help us prepare for the inevitable. For I am reminded regularly that conversations about death and dying are among the most important and the most difficult we will ever have. It looms over us every day, and intellectually we all know the possibility is there. We know that all that lives will die. Death is a consequence of life. It is an unavoidable part of the life cycle. Every one of us here is going to die, and everyone is going to grieve. We are supremely unified by these inevitabilities, and yet most of us do everything in our power to avoid accepting mortality. We do live in a death-phobic society. For centuries, death has been the cause of preoccupation and fear, and for far too long we have orphaned ourselves from nature and regarded death as an intruder rather than an experience of life. And the less something is openly discussed, the far more scarier it becomes. So we don't talk about it. We shy away from the subject because we fear it is too morbid, and such conversations will only serve to make people uncomfortable and will disturb everyone's good time. We are also very superstitious. We believe that such talk will tempt the Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, to seek us out. And so even families and friends who can dive into the most difficult conversations about money, sex, and politics will find themselves mute when confronted with taboo end-of-life discussions. The question is why? The answer is because it takes guts. It takes guts to confront this vulnerable truth. There is no guarantee to the length of our days. And so no matter our age, the premise of confronting death offers a powerful reflection on how we are actually living our lives. Death and life are two sides of the same coin. Whenever we talk about death, we also talk about life. Now, you may be surprised to know that this profound message is the actual meaning of Yom Kippur. This sacred day is traditionally understood as a rehearsal for our death. Think about it for a moment. We began Kol Nidre with an open, empty ark. The word in Hebrew is aron. It is the modern word for casket. As if we are staring into an empty casket, our own. And we neither eat or drink, because neither do the dead. And it is traditional to wear white, similar to the shrouds we are buried in. In short, all those things that make us alive, including personal pleasures and adornments, are put on hold this Yom Kippur day to create a semi-death experience. On this day, we step out of our physical bodies as if they've left us. We recite Vidui, the Confessional Prayers, which are uttered by those who are about to die. And we ask ourselves in the Unatana Tokef, who shall live and who shall die? So if we are to fully embrace the meaning of Yom Kippur, we spend at least one day a year reflecting on our mortality. We are to be transformed by it. The rabbis tell us to approach this day as if it is our last. We are to look death in the eye and see towards its life-affirming conclusion. The outcome is to help us best appreciate that in preparing for death, we can learn more deeply to celebrate life. In short, it is Yom Kippur that wants us to stop taking life for granted and live the way we want to be remembered. Even the Dalai Lama embraced this Jewish teaching. He is quoted as saying, "An analysis of our death is not for the sake of becoming fearful, but to better appreciate the preciousness of life." One day a year, we are to imagine our deaths for two compelling reasons. First, we are to make the most of our allotted time. In Jewish teaching, we call this Heshbon HaNefesh, the accounting of the soul, and we are to rehearse our death in order to choose life in greater alignment with our values. We are to take inventory of our actions. Are we prioritizing that which is really so important? Are we spending our time and energies on the people and the ideals that really matter most? Please remember that clergy will not write eulogies. We each write our own with the actions of our lives. The great philosopher Franz Kafka once wrote, "The meaning of life is that it ends." And his statement is profoundly true, for death is a great teacher when it informs the living about what really matters. We are here today in order to spotlight our own prideful deeds that will one day be summarized on our headstone. And when you next walk through a cemetery, please note the messages that come down to a few brief written words. Beloved husband, father, grandfather, cherished wife, mother, grandmother, sister, beloved son, daughter. There are no titles. We do not list net worth. There are no awards won or grades earned. No calculation of your long hours at the office. Just a recounting of the true meaning of your life. Relationships. The second compelling message of this day is to encourage us to engage in honest discussion, reflection, and planning of our own end-of-life wishes. If Yom Kippur is a rehearsal, we need to prepare for that inevitable moment, especially in a society that does not want to openly and honestly discuss the topic. The truth is that how we want to die represents the most important and costly conversation that we in America are not having. The statistics are staggering. Research suggests that 90% of individuals believe that talking to loved ones about their end-of-life wishes is important, but only 27% have ever broached the subject. 80% of Americans do not put their personal affairs in order before they die. The average funeral today costs between $12,000 and $15,000, and yet no more than 5% of Americans pre-plan their end-of-life rituals. A vast majority of Americans say they want to die at home, but 75% will die in a hospital or a nursing home, with 20% of Americans spending their very last days in an ICU unit. In the past year alone, Medicare spent $55 billion on hospital and doctor bills to cover the last 2 months of a patient's life. That is more than the budget for the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Education combined. Our hesitancy to have these conversations is quite understandable. Intellectually, we know that life is finite. We even realize that sometimes death brings relief and peace to those we love, but emotionally, we want to perpetuate life at all costs. This tension between our head and our heart sends conflicting messages, and without the foundation of an honest, open communication before a crisis, there is little to no guidance in comprehension and desired action. None of us can assume someone else's needs and wants. The necessity to talk is to learn what each family member thinks about the choices and why, not to impose a right choice on others. There is a marked difference today in prolonging life as opposed to postponing death. Modern medicine, with its technology, its machines, its treatments, and its medications, is capable of miraculous care and the extension of life. But medicine, void of the personal intervention and direction, can also painfully delay the natural act of dying. Death is not an opponent in a battle to be won or lost. Rather, as the book of Ecclesiastes reminds us, there is a time to be born and a time to die, allowing death to be painless, brief, and even dignified. So if you can begin to talk about end-of-life issues while a person is still healthy, you will have made one of the greatest significant contributions to the well-being of your family. For talk is the single most important thing family and friends can do to prepare for the end of life of someone they love. There are 3 questions that every one of us should be able to answer. What do we want? What are we worried about? And who will decide for me if I am not able? I can tell you from learned experience, sitting by the beds of so many who are dying and at the end of life, that it is always difficult and sad. But it can also be amazingly rich and fulfilling. What matters most is to talk to the people you love about the decisions near the end of life, to come to terms with inevitable loss, and to honor the life cycle. By breaking the silence, we can make decisions that are in keeping with our treasured values and beliefs. Now, I fully understand that it takes courage, motivation, and opportunity to begin these conversations, but starting is the most important part. So I hope you will join me throughout this year as I offer a special education series on difficult but necessary conversations about death and dying in Jewish tradition. For I know I would be terribly remiss in raising topics today that can cause such discomfort, distress, and pain without proposing an educational foundation of exploration and discussion. And so it is that this Yom Kippur day urges us to accept that our days are numbered. And through our imagery and prayer, several important lessons have been impressed upon us. First, we have learned that we need not fear death, but rather we must embrace it in order for us to affirm the gift of life. Second, we have been reminded that upon serious consideration of our own mortality, we can live more fully and with greater purpose when we treasure what we already have, because none of it is ours to keep. And lastly, Yom Kippur challenges us to change our culture and deal with death by joining in the conversation. Woody Allen once said, "I am not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens." I pray that in this new year, 5779, our fear of death will be overcome with our gratitude for the vast possibilities of life. Amen.
Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Adonai roi lo echsar binu deshe yarbitzeni al menuchot yenaleini nafshi yishovel yancheni b'magnei tzedek yancheni b'magnei tzedek leman shemo gam kelech beget al mavet lo erora ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha Ta'aruch lefanai Shulchan neged sorerai Dishanta Vashem Roshi Kosirim Ach, chesed yidifuni kol yemei chayai, kol yemei chayai, vishavti bivit Adonai liorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar Lo Ersan.
We just have a few quick announcements. Our doors will remain open for congregants who wish to remain at the temple. The sanctuary will stay open for any individuals looking for opportunity for personal inspection and prayer. Our afternoon service, followed by Yitzhor and Ilah, begins at 3:30 p.m. We will conclude services with our traditional shofar chorus and Havdalah with glow sticks. Please mark your calendars for the upcoming following events. First, to continue to connect the temple community, we are asking congregants to submit a family photo to hang in our sukkah. It is an easy two-step process. Step 1, find your phone, but not right now. Step 2, find a photo and email it to jordang@templeharshalom.org, jordang@templeharshalom.org. Please send your photo by this Friday, September 21st. For those of you that still print out photos, you are welcome to bring them as well to the temple office. On Sunday, September 23rd, and I apologize for reminding you this, we will have our Holy Smokes barbecue in the parking lot following J School, open to everyone beginning at noon. Machon grades 7 through 12, opening evening will be Wednesday, September 26th. Please check our website for most recent updates and any time schedule questions. In addition, there is still time to return any filled grocery bags. There are many who are hungry that need our help. Some upcoming special events can be found each weekend throughout October. First, Sunday, October 14th at 9 a.m., we'll be having a breakfast program about the U.S. midterm elections and their impact on Israel. Friday, October 19th at 6:30 p.m., we'll be hosting our first Shabbat and a movie evening. Please join us for a short service to be followed by a showing of the classic, The Frisco Kid. Sunday, October 28th at 9 a.m., we'll be commemorating the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht as we hear from our own Erwin Gans, a Kristallnacht and Holocaust survivor. Please, we encourage you, come and listen to his powerful story. Finally, and I'll turn as much to the cameras now, because we know there are those in the Carolinas watching us. For fellow Jews in the Carolinas, this Yom Kippur is a time of great stress and turmoil due to Hurricane Florence. The scale of flooding is extensive in both states. Many people are still evacuated from the coastal communities, and we know there's extensive risk of additional flooding, even though the storm has passed. It will be days before we know how many Jewish families and individuals have lost their homes. The Jewish Federation of North America has opened a 2018 Hurricane Relief Fund to provide assistance to those directly affected by the storm. After the holiday, please go to jewishfederations.org to lend your support. At this solemn and holy hour, let us all reach out to help those in need. Please go to the temple website for further details, and Shana Tova. Thank you.
There is no official end to the service until we actually reach Ne'ilah, but it would be awkward to send you off without some kind of see you later song. So if you'll please turn to page 225 and join me in Ein Keloheinu.
In Kelohinu, in Kadoninu, in Kimalkinu, in Kmoshinu, mi Kelohinu, mi Kadoninu, mi Kimalkinu, mi Kmoshinu. Nodel Elohinu, Nodel Adoninu, Nodel Malkinu, Nodel Moshinu, Baruch Elohinu, Baruch Adoninu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshinu. Atahu Elohinu, Atahu Adoninu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshinu.
Shana Tova. Services will resume at 3:30 p.m.
sister was here